the first session of the book study on The Shift to Student-Led, Reimagining Classroom Workflows with UDL and Blended Learning by Caitlin Tucker and Katie Novak. We have Tracy Dabbs, Ari Werder, Katie Dorr facilitating this book study. They're from the Northwest region of Washington, from Burlington Edison School District and Mount Vernon School District. So they'll be with you every week for these 6 sessions. I just wanted to show you that they have created a website that will have all the resources from the book study. So if you miss a session, you can come to this website and find the slide deck for the presentation. We'll also be adding the recordings, and that will also be here and any resources they share. Another tool they're using is Padlet. So this is a way for you to share your learning with others in this virtual space. And there's many different ways to express your learning with text, with typing, with adding pictures, with adding videos, many different things, websites that you want to share out. So that's another tool we'll use for this book study. Next up, I have a part of a clip of the book study recording so that you can get a feel for the book study and feel prepared for joining on the next session, which is on October 24th. Look forward to seeing you.
All right, welcome everyone. We are going to begin our book study tonight, The Shift to Student-Led, a new book by Caitlin Tucker and Katie Novak. Tonight, our session 1, we're going to be looking at the introduction, pages 1 through 29 with you.
Right.
Let's look at the survey together. And Ari, why do we even bother doing a learner survey?
Well, it's really important for us. We try to adjust on the fly here, right? We know that who we have in front of us is really helpful to know and to be able to think about customizing some of the things that we're planning on doing today. So knowing a little bit about you, what brings you here and where you're at or how you're feeling and setting in this. We really appreciate that it's 4:15 on a Thursday, right? It's not quite Friday. It's pretty exhausting. It's also wonderful, but to show up and be ready to do learning isn't always super easy. So we want to acknowledge that. It helps us know because every day you come at a different place than you might another time. So hopefully you've had a chance to respond to that, the learning survey, and it helps us out a little bit. Tracy, you want to share with us?
So as Ari said, it's always nice to know who your learners are. And if you have your students, right, you get a chance to do these and then learn more about your students as you work with them. But we've got some people from lots of different places, Ari, look at this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Love that we have a bunch of special education teachers. We have an OT. We have a STOMP assistant program director. What is STOMP? Is that person willing to like unmute themselves and tell us what that's all about?
So STOMP stands for Specialized Training of Military Parents, and it's a program under the Department of Defense in partnership with PAVE, providing support to parents of children with disabilities that are in our armed forces. So that's what that's all about. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Yes, thank you so much. Whenever I see a new acronym, I want to find out what it's all about because education has a million of them. Perfect. So wonderful. We have a great span of a bunch of people from all different roles. That's amazing. It always makes our conversations really rich. Ari, you want to talk?
I agree with you. I absolutely love that. And I think particularly with this book, we have so many places to go with it in our workflow. So having people that are in, all different genres within our school systems really is going to help us have a strong collaborative group and hopefully some good outcomes. We have lots of people ready to listen and take notes.
Yeah. How do you learn best in a digital environment? Listening to presenters, completed guided notes. This is the biggest one, listening to presenters and taking notes. We're hoping that people will be willing to chat too. We want to hear from you. There's a wealth of knowledge just from you as well. So great to know. Good to know how people learn best, quiet time, and then large group time. So we've tried to embed some of these things in. So that's really powerful. Perfect. And then why did you sign up for this course? Nice. Increase understanding. Empower students. How to get back my nights and weekends. Yes, that's a great one. How to assist gen ed teachers. Awesome. Further my work with UDL. Perfect. Adding to my personal toolkit. Perfect. And Ari and I will look these over too. We want to
Yep.
make sure we're being responsive to what you were hoping this course would be. So thank you so much for taking a moment to fill that out for us, because we're still teachers, right? Those teacher pieces of how can we on the next session respond to what you guys need. So thank you so much.
Well, now that we've gotten started and looks like we've got quite a few people in here, we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Ari Warder. I am a CTE middle school and high school teacher here in Burlington Edison School District. I'm also the UDL lead in one of our elementaries that I work at. And I'm excited because this year I'm getting back in the classroom and getting lots of time to test out all of our theories that we've talked about before, right? So I'm getting lots of time to work with our students. So I'm glad to be here. Unfortunately, Katie's not with us today. She's from Mount Vernon, and she is a technology integration specialist and the UDL lead for her district. She's just our neighboring partner that we do a lot of work with.
She's great. You'll really enjoy working with her in our next session. And my name is Tracy Dabbs. I'm with the Burlington Edison School District with Ari, and I'm the coordinator of technology for the district and also the UDL district lead. And I love that I get a chance with technology to be so embedded in instructional practice. And Ari and I have been working on UDL for a few years now, probably about 6 or 7. And it's been just a really exciting journey. And we love how we get to team up with Central and do these book studies for you. So we're really looking forward to these sessions. All right. So our goals for the whole book study. We found this book and just knew it had to be the next one we were doing a book study on. This one's really fun. So our goals for this book study are to reimagine some classroom workflows, some things that are already going on in your room, and how can we redesign them with the idea of looking at UDL and blended learning. And then also, of course, the chance to reflect and collaborate around our current practices, think about things we want to keep, and then think about things that we want to morph and change as our next steps. And then our goals just for this session, we are going to explore the why behind this book. And we want you to consider your why for this work. Some of you shared that in your learner survey. So hopefully in some of the breakouts, you'll get a chance to kind of talk about that and solidify that for yourself. And then we also want to consider what we already know about UDL and blended learning to kind of connect and bring those ideas together. And then review the introduction around these topics to kind of set the stage for us in this book study.
All right, so just so you know, we're going to ask you for some feedback at the end, and we're going to ask you what you learned, but thinking about also what we did as presenters that worked for you, what things you want to have change. And you'll notice that each of our sessions are hopefully going to be adaptive based on those kind of the feedback that you give us. We know this group can get really large and small, and it kind of make sure that we're reflective and really try to
Yes, so we are really all about feedback. So please, at the end, I mean, if you thought, oh, it was great, I don't need to say anything, please say something. And if, oh, they probably won't change that anyway, I don't need to say it anyway, please.
or the things that you like, because then we'll like keep doing them.
Yes, absolutely. We're feedback is super important. Just like, feedback in your own classroom with your own students is super powerful.
So we're going to take a minute because we also know, like we said, it's a Thursday. You may have gotten into the book really far. You might not have. You might have had to skim that. So we want to give you just a few minutes to look back over your book. And then also, Tracy, do you want to drop the new link in for the graphic organizer? But there is a graphic organizer that will help us. We're just going to take a minute. We're going to set a timer for you to recenter yourself. You just had a little chat time. Recenter yourself in the pages through here, looking at the UDL piece or the flipped classroom, the blended learning. Start that timer whenever Tracy's ready.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to turn mine off and look at it too.
Excellent. All right, enjoy some review time.
And this 5 minutes has come from other book studies when people said we could really use a few minutes to look at our book because I'm rushing from IEP meetings or from classrooms. So we've added this in as a response to our other book studies.
Be sure you let us know in feedback if this is helpful. All right, perfect. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to start with a video from our authors, and then we're going to talk about some of the choices you have to dig into this intro a little bit more.
So I woke up very early one morning after having a lovely 3 consecutive days without work on my plate and was feeling inspired after reading Brene Brown's like Daring Greatly and thinking about how can we help teachers to take kind of the big ideas from that first book, but really put them into practice in a way that was going to make their lives feel more manageable, this really challenging work to feel more sustainable. And ultimately, it's really about that cultivating of expert learners and sharing the responsibility of learning. So I wrote Katie an early morning text and I said, what do you think if we tackle some of the most time-consuming workflows in education, the ones that just make this job so exhausting, and we kind of reimagine them using this universally designed blended learning as a lens and shift the responsibility for those workflows really to students where they're going to benefit from those reimagined workflows.
And, you know, one of the things that we say all the time is like, teachers are working so hard, way too hard to not have a better impact on all students. And one of the things that people talk about a lot is the lack of student engagement, the lack of student agency. So these workflow shifts will help to build that engagement and build that agency so you can realize the true potential of UDL and blended learning. So we are so excited for you to dive in.
All the resources that Ari and Katie and I are going to share with you, we have on a website that we'll give you access to, and we'll make sure that we've kept old websites up from other book studies that we've done, so we don't plan on taking those down. So we have resources that you'll be able to come back to later. But now we're going to go ahead and tell you about the choices that we are going to have for breakout sessions. And the first choice is going to be about UDL, and Ari's going to give a little review on that one in just a second. I have a section on blended learning. I'll give you a little overview of what that breakout will be like. And then our third choice is a chance for you just to jump into the book on your own. We want to make sure we have choices that make sense for you. So those will be those 3 choices, but we're going to go ahead and kind of jump into what those choices will be about.
All right, so if you decide to stay in the main room, we're going to talk about the section, the few pages, page 10 through 16, related to universal design for learning. So if you're kind of new to some of this and you want to talk about UDL, this would be a great place to be. Also, I'm going to jump in real quickly and look at the guidelines 3.0. So if you're not familiar, the guidelines were changed over the summer. Similar, but a few little differences. But basically this chapter is going to talk a little bit about variability, the importance of that change, and kind of honing in on those firm but flexible goals with the choice board as the example.
The next breakout room is one that I'm going to be looking at with you, and it's on blended learning. It's specifically pages 16 through 29, and going to kind of dig into that learner variability as a reality. We know that, so touch on that for a little bit, have a little conversation. And then also talk about what is blended learning. And sometimes there's misconceptions around what that is. So talk a little bit about what Katie is talking about, what they're talking about in this book. There are maybe some different ideas about blended learning. So we'll really kind of hone in on that. And then we'll talk about some of the strategies and models that they share in the book.
That concludes the clip from session 1 of our book study. Now, I wanted to share that the facilitator said that in the second session, you'll be able to choose a path to guided exploration. So they encouraged you between now and October 24th to just peruse the book, and you'll be able to make some choices about what portions you explore and what portions you focus on. Look forward to seeing you on the 24th.